After many people got burnt with either meme coins or with AI agent tokens, now the narrative is shifting towards layer ones, towards new blockchains, for example, Story. The question is, how long can this story continue? Does it still make sense to buy? We're going to look at data most people are not considering. Have a look at the performance in the last week. The Story token with ticker symbol IP was the best performer. Then we've got S, so that's Sonic, that's the new development from Phantom, and we've got Iberra, also a new chain. Story is now at $4.77. It's up 60% today and 160% this week. It's a blockchain surrounding intellectual property, so the transfer and ownership of IP rights. Apparently, there's already a very large ecosystem with all kinds of applications. The question is, how much are those actually used? There is an extensive white paper, 16 pages, so some work has been done. This is not just smoke and mirrors. And the concept was strong enough for investors like Andreessen Horowitz, so AI16Z, to invest in the project very early, even in the seed round on the 17th of May 2023. Another Series A followed, another Series B followed. We've got $134 million that got raised. And the big question is this something that could grow long term, or will this be a pump and dump by the early investors? Let's look deeper. We've already got a blockchain explorer, so there is a blockchain that is processing transactions. And we've even got statistics around those transactions. Have a look at the number of accounts, have a look at the number of active accounts or new accounts. Apparently, there are tens of thousands of wallets that transact on the blockchain already. Here are the number of transactions. Of course, the aggregated transactions don't really help that much. But yeah, we got two major waves of transactions. On the 17th of February, we saw almost 1 million transactions. And what I find interesting is that the blockchain explorer classifies many of those transactions already as IP transfers, as transfers of intellectual property. How scalable is the blockchain? It's not really clear, right? Because the gas price already spiked once. So most days we had less than 1 Gwei in transaction fees, and then for whatever reason on the 14th of February we had a 762 Gwei average price per unit of gas. This is not necessarily instilling too much confidence in terms of scalability, but let's see how this long term develops. It looks like a lot of people are now testing out the chain because there are a lot of contract submissions, but not all of those contracts are verified. So the number of smart contracts on chain is now at 25,000, and verified is only 1,000 of those 25, so only 4%. Now for me, especially with new launches, it's always the question, how natural, how organic is the activity? Is this all bots trading against one another? Is this people experimenting with the chain? Or are potentially a lot of retail investors already jumping in? I always like to compare numbers. So when we've got tens of thousands, sometimes 100,000 users on a day, do we see significant money on chain as well? Have a look at this chart here. This is the total value locked of the Story blockchain over time. It's currently at 16 million. That is rather small, especially given that the market cap is currently at 1.2 billion. And we come to this in a second. The fully diluted market cap is way larger than that. And so here's the potential problem of Story, or of the IP token. It is the unlock over time. So we had all of that money flowing in early. And of course, the investors that bought in early, they want to get a return on their money. And the way they get that return is with token inflation. So what started out with 250 million IP tokens will grow to 1 billion IP tokens. So a 4x over the span of 4 years. That is a lot of token inflation. Now, there are other altcoins that also saw a lot of token inflation. For example, here, right, this is Sui. Sui went from 500 million tokens to now 3 billion, a 6x in a very short amount of time, and still the price was able to appreciate. So token inflation is not necessarily always a bad thing. It's always a question of whether or not the demand can grow as quickly as the supply does. Now, I do have the impression that at least short term, the IP token might be somewhat inflated. Even though we don't see that much spot trading volume yet, and most of that trading volume happens on centralized exchanges, right, on OKX and Bitmart and Coinbase, the issue is that we do have a lot of trading volume on the perpetual futures market. So that's dominated by Binance, and we saw 3.7 billion worth of IP traded there in the last 24 hours alone. There is a lot of inherent leverage in the price. The people that have perpetual futures positions in the token don't want to hold that token for long term, right? They just want to bet on the current price action. The question is always, will there be organic demand on chain? Will there be usage on chain similar to what we've seen with Sui? If not, then the current valuation is too high. If yes, there is still some upside. So Story now has a market cap of 1.2 billion. Sui has a market cap of 10. So it's roughly a 9x from here. There is a lot of hopium in the price of IP, because when we continue with that comparison, Sui has a total value locked of 1.5 billion. So that's 100 times the capital of the Story chain. The market at the current prices is basically expecting that this total value locked will rise at least another 10x from here. If it rises another 10x and the price itself of the token will not move, then we've got fair relative valuations. I will continue to make updates on Story. If you don't want to miss those, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to also give this video a like. It helps the channel grow. Feel free to also check out the premium membership. This is where I share my personal trades. I personally like to bet on falling altcoins. I don't try to pick always the needle in the haystack, the 1 or 2 tokens that outperform the rest. I tend to make a lot of alpha simply betting on most altcoins doing worse than Bitcoin or Ethereum. So I'm not always trying to find the next 5 or 10x gem, especially in a market that tends to be rather hostile. It's okay to just make continuous compounding of 10, maybe 15% per month and let that run long term. So feel free to check it out. It's down below. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. There's also an introductory video over here. It's currently $125 per month, and there's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, just message me within the first 7 days and I will refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Looking forward to seeing you again in YouTube or potentially in premium. Cheers.